Hi there, I'm Mason Marangella from Vertex Effects. Today I'm here with my good buddy, Dani Rabin. Dani is with the amazing jazz fusion band Marbin, that's like Marvin with a B.
That's correct.
Today we're going to be taking you through a Dumble pedal shootout. Many of the Sweetwater sales engineers have communicated to us that it would be good for us to make you a video that would sort of distinguish the key differences between each one of our Dumble-style pedals. Now, if you know anything about our Vertex pedals, many of them are based on classic amps that are almost unobtainable, many of those being Dumble-style effects. Starting closest to me, we have the Ultraphonix, and that's the Dumble-style pedal that kind of represents the classic Dumble sound that almost everybody knows and loves. This is the kind of Robin Ford, Larry Carlton, Carlos Santana type sound, where it's really warm and mid-range, and it's got kind of a beautiful bloom to it. Our newest offering next to that is the Ultra-Phonix HRM. This is sort of the amalgamation of a Dumble meets Marshall type of sound, based on the Dumble overdrive special that is equipped with EL34s instead of the 6L6 version, which would be more like the original Ultraphonix. The HRM offers a more intense mid-range, has a lot more aggressive distortion, and has just kind of an overall different feel. The circuits are completely unrelated between the two, so if you already own the Ultraphonix, it wouldn't be at all redundant to go with the HRM to add to that. And then all the way on the right, we of course have the steel string, one of our most popular pedals. This is based on the Dumble steel string Singer, which is that kind of John Mayer, Stevie Ray Vaughan type vibe, where it's really big, has a little compression, and just a slight edge to it, but is definitely the least amount of gain. And in terms of gain, this would be the least, this would be the highest, and then this regular Ultraphonix would be right in the middle. But enough of me talking about it. Let's start getting some sounds. I've got Dani here. We've dialed in kind of the equal levels across everything, and we're just going to kind of be switching them in and out and kind of showing what some key differences are so you can kind of hear how those different gains and EQs actually translate into your own playing.
Sure. So we'll start with the steel string.
So you can already hear there the big fatness, lots of kind of big low end presence, kind of beefy. I mean, what are you hearing here?
Well, if you have a clean amp and you're trying to turn it into that Stevie kind of thing, it does that. It adds the grit you need. It adds that kind of compression. It makes the amp feel tight. Most of you guys are probably not going to get the chance to play through an actual Dumble. I was just at the Songbirds Museum in Chattanooga, and they have a huge collection of Dumbles. I got to play around with them. And the feeling of standing in front of one is pretty unique. You get this kind of thing. I mean, I guess you're going to have to take my word for it, but this does it, you know. And it adds a certain kind of tightness, and you can play things that aren't totally saturated, but you get plenty of sustain, plenty of gain, but you still can come across and play those overdriven sounds that I think are really the holy grail of tone in terms of blues rock playing. John Mayer, SRV, like you said. And yeah, it's the only one in the line that really deals with those low levels of gain that are still sustainy and singy and cut through a mix.
Very cool. So let's kind of like move on and graduate to the kind of the other extreme end, which is the HRM, and kind of play it in a similar vibe. We can kind of hear how that maybe would differ a little bit sonically.
Yeah. So to me, the HRM, like really, it excels in being more dynamic, and I like to use the Jeff Beck kind of thing with it. That's what I associate with it. But if I'm playing, I'll play with a pick first, and it has this kind of thing. Now, as I switch to fingers, it's going to have a very different kind of thing. It cleans up very nicely, and it responds to touch in a very different way, much more martially than the other ones.
It's almost like there's like a real vocal quality that's coming through here that's really kind of consistent with the Dumble sound, you know, especially with the gain type sounds where it almost has just this vocal kind of emotive quality to it, and we really kind of heard that in that, so thanks for that, Dani.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. So we've heard kind of, this is the kind of the higher, more aggressive gain of the three, but let's kind of go to the real classic that a lot of people, you know, have learned about Dumbles through is guys like Robin Ford, guys like Larry Carlton, and let's kind of see kind of how that differs.
Yeah, and this one is, in my band, in Marbin, this is my lead sound. I use this one exclusively for soloing, and I love it. It has some hair on it, but it's the right kind of hair that you would want, so it sounds like this.
That definitely adds some hair, that's for sure. I think that like what I'm hearing is really the whole EQ really shifts down in terms of its kind of mid-range aggressiveness. It's definitely like smoother. I mean, when people talk about that 6L6 style Dumble, kind of more Santana, more Larry Carlton, more Robin Ford, they all kind of have this smoothness around the top, and I'm definitely hearing that here, even though you're playing kind of like a fusion-y type lead sound. What are you kind of getting from this?
Well, the thing I like about this one is that it's wide open, you know, so it's a distorted sound, but it's not very compressed. I mean, when you start getting the gain rolling in, your sound kind of becomes smaller, and that could be good. I mean, if you're trying to get, you know, an easier feel to play. This one is not a very forgiving pedal in that sense, but if your technique is together and you know what you want to sound like with your body, with your fingers, then it really gets you there and gets that distorted sound that also is super responsive to touch.
Got it. Yeah, and I'm in agreement with all that, and I think that, you know, hopefully what today is kind of giving you is just an opportunity to sort of calibrate how these all are in comparison with each other. But there's one more thing that I want to show you, which I kind of think is like one of the secret tones that really kind of drives things over the top, especially if you're a fan of the Dumble type sound. What I really like to do is kind of use the steel string as like an always-on sort of like Dumble vibe to a clean amp. And then I will switch that off and bring in the Ultraphonix as kind of my mid-gain sound. You know, we've kind of heard these individually. But then when you use this Ultraphonix and the steel string together, it is one of the most incredible lead tones that's like difficult for me even to get amp gain to sound as good as. Can we just do a quick, just to humor me? All right. It's amazing that it almost like imparts the best of what both of these have to offer, kind of the bigness and the fatness of the steel string, and then you get that cut and that bloom of the...
it doesn't squash.
It doesn't squash, so. And you know, a lot of times when you start getting up above the 12th fret, distortion pedals can really reveal themselves and fall apart, and this just stays so fat and in the mix in a real perfect way.
Also, playing single coils and getting such a thick sound, especially on the bridge, it's really impressive.
Tricky, yeah. Yeah, well, that's an overview of Ultraphonix HRM, and steel string. I hope this helps create sort of some differentiators for you so you kind of know what Dumble vibe you want to go for, or as we've shown here at the end, sometimes combining them can also be a pretty amazing sound. I'm Mason Marangella. This is Dani Rabin from Marbin. That's like Marvin with a B, so be sure to check them out. I hope this helped clarify for you the key differences between all of our Dumble-style pedals and this Dumble pedal shootout. You can see that Ultraphonix is kind of the standard, everybody knows. HRM, a little bit more gain, a little bit more Marshall-y, and then the steel string, kind of that classic Stevie Ray, John Mayer type clean tone. If you have any questions about this, please be sure to talk to your Sweetwater sales engineer. Dani, play us out.